ただいまより
Now we are going to begin the press conference by Prime Minister Ishiba. We have opening remarks in front of Prime Minister. The floor is yours, Mr. Prime Minister. Yes, thank you. Today, the extraordinary data session closed. As for this extraordinary data session, I delivered my general policy speech. In the beginning of my speech, I cited the remarks by Minister Ishiba, former Prime Minister. At national politics, we always have to be honest and frank, and this is the custom, the habit that we need to establish, and to reveal the truth of the matters. And we also have to cooperate with each other and to contribute to the society. And this is the words by Minister Ishiba, former Prime Minister. And it is the first party of the government. We listened to the voices of others carefully, and as much as possible, we want to reach a broad agreement. And that's what we have been working on. At this data session, the opposition, the ruling and opposition blocs had intensive and open discussions. And we believe that we had very mature and intensive discussions. At the end of the data sessions, both the ruling and the opposition blocs, and to our people, I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation. Thank you so much. We received a lot of strict words from our people, and I'm very keen on the political reforms. That's what I have been working on. After the general election of the lower house, as the president of LDP, we worked on the abolishment of the political activity expenses, and also the disclosure of the usage, and also the refund of the communication and travel expenses, and also an early establishment of the third-party organization for supervision. And we are going to make those into a reality as soon as possible. And I'm strongly resolved to make that happen. And at the political reform headquarters of our party, the rationale of the internal entities need to be excluded. And at the special committee of the political reforms of the Diet, from the factions, 9 bills were forwarded, and we had very sincere discussions by the ruling and opposition bloc. And as a result, the bills were passed today. And there were some points that were not adopted, but as a minority government, of course, not all of our opinions will be accepted. We are fully aware of that, even if it's not 100%. But each one of the steps forward is critical, and that's what politics is supposed to be. That's what I believe. On corporate political donations, rather than prohibiting it, we believe it should be disclosed, and to make it transparent. This is the most paramount. Depending on the party, there are different opinions. At the end of this fiscal year, or the end of March next year, we would like to reach a decision, a conclusion. And also for the former communication and travel allowances at the Diet, based on the agreement of each of the parties and factions, how to disclose the usage and how to return the remaining funds. There was an agreement reached on those matters. And the LDP-led revisions, we were able to pass the legislations before the end of the year. And again, I'd like to thank all the stakeholders for the cooperation. And for the 2024 supplementary budget, we had deliberations. during which there was a diet revision for the first time in 28 years, and the first time for a supplementary budget where a revision was passed at the diet. And we got some of the opposition parties' agreement on this. The opposition parties and also for the ruling parties, this is the first time, this is the first experience participating in the deliberation. It's not just to participate and just to listen. It's not a one way, but we had a two intensive discussion, a mature discussion, I believe.
経済は
Economy in Japan, as I have said during diet session, for a long time we had a deflation mind. We overcome that, and wage increases and investment growth leads the economy. And we are at the watershed moment, and this is our recognition. We implement economic measures, and from cost-cutting type economy, we shift to high-value creation economy. We achieve wage increases, overcoming the inflation. We implement cost pass-through in a timely manner. Energy saving and digitalization will be strongly supported by the government. The minimum wage increase will be supported by the government, and investment in people and also domestic investment between public and private sectors. Earning power of businesses will be enhanced. In the future, in a continuous manner, income should increase. That's the measures that we are taking. To the people of Japan, we deliver these results. In order to do that, in a timely and appropriate execution is something we are aiming at. For the next fiscal year, the measures for the people will be implemented in a seamless manner. This is what we have to do. For the budget of 2025, we are entering the final phase. On 27th, there will be a decision about the rough numbers. About the progress of the measures, today, the headquarters for new regional revitalization, the basic concepts were approved. For the time being, population and working population are declining. We recognize the fact head-on. Even if the population declines, economy should grow and society should function. So we have put together the basic concepts to make it happen. And I was given a lot of instruction from Taichi Sakaya. There was a book, The Third Japan. This is the book he wrote. I think there are many people who read the book. In his book, the major restoration centralized government. There is a slogan to really enhance Japan, strengthen Japan. Stronger Japan was something the government was aiming at. In the post-war period, we aimed at reconstruction from the loss of the war and a high level of growth in the economy. Through that, we were aiming at really a rich country instead of a strong country. In order to achieve that, there are a rational decision, and with the intention, there was a centralization effort. That's what Mr. Sakaya said. An era of Heisei, such a policy ended, and then being powerful and being rich should be recognized as a value. But what kind of Japan are we aiming at? That is a question we have to ask. Mr. Sakaya, in his book as well, he said that we should aim at a fun country. And when I read the book, I do understand the powerful and also the rich country, but I was thinking about what he means by people having fun or being interested. population is not increasing, and also the Ministry of Transportation laid out the median 10% from a median age of distribution income, and overall 20%. The household at the median level, if we focused on that, it means that the regional economies are rich. That's what he means. And there are rich nature, good food, and people are generous. But in a local area, why population decline continues, and that is really the gist of the challenge, especially population decline for young people and for women. These people are leaving from local area to bigger cities. This is the obvious phenomenon.
の時代にあ
We're in a time of diversity, and as a platform for self-fulfillment, the ties with local regions need to be enhanced and to realize a lively Japan. And that's what I want to realize through regional revitalization. Disaster prevention and disaster mitigation needs to be thoroughly enhanced. This year, in the new year, a strong earthquake hit the Noto Peninsula. In September, in the same affected area, heavy rains poured. Why only us have to go through this? That voices were very strong and left a strong impression on me. And for a thorough enhancement of the disaster prevention, I established a new meeting body to promote disaster prevention and bills to facilitate the cooperation with volunteers is something that I'm considering to be forwarded for the next diet session. And I'm going all flat out on this. What I mean by this is that I'm going to pull out all the stops to implement prevention of the disasters, and based on human rights, the sphere standards need to be introduced to improve the environment of evacuation centers, and also to deepen the discussions on the establishment of the disaster management agency. The real winter has arrived in the Noto region. Again, we dispatched the staff from relevant ministries and agencies and looked at the situations of the affected area. For reconstruction and recovery, we will continue to listen to the voices of the people in the affected region, because we want people to know that the government cares. And also, we have to secure the SDF members, and the government will work as a whole. A new ministerial meeting was established, and the basic policy has been put together. And things to be recognized in 2025, and the necessary amendments and revisions will be discussed as soon as possible. And for whatever is possible, we will put it forward to the Diet as soon as possible. The SDF members and their family members, we also have to make them feel that the government understands them. And for those who joined the SDF forces, we want them to feel that it was a right decision, a good decision to join the SDF. And that's how we want to strengthen the foundation of Japan's defense capabilities. The international situation is very complicated and challenging, and I started my diplomatic activities through my visits, and also Norway, Sweden, and Finland and Sweden. I also had summit meetings with the leaders of the Scandinavian nations to talk about the international affairs over there and reconfirmed our cooperation. And for South Korea, there were some internal political movement, but with the Foreign Minister Han Duck-soo, I had a telephone call to confirm the close cooperation between Japan, South Korea, and Japan, South Korea, the U.S. Next year marks the 6th anniversary of the Japan-South Korean diplomatic ties, and we reconfirmed our close cooperation. On January the 20th next year, the second Trump administration will be launched. With President-elect Mr. Trump, I want to realize an early meeting with him to bring the Japan-U.S. alliance to the next level. We are a minority government, and we are in a hung parliament. But I'd like to maximize the potential of such a parliament by listening to different voices of the people and incorporate that into our policies. We would like to continuously gain understanding and cooperation from our people. And thank you so much for your efforts and cooperation during this night session. Now we will take questions from the floors. And if you were appointed, please go to the nearest microphone. Please state your affiliation and name. And please keep your question to one. And we will start with the coordinators. Kyodo Press, please.
I'm Shimoyama from Kyodo. Today, political reform related bills, 3 of them are passed today. The contribution from the companies and businesses did not reach the conclusion, and it is deferred. And some members in LDP said that through these actions, you have fulfilled accountability, but the opposition party is asking for more reform. With the outcome of the extraordinary diet session, do you think that the people's distrust is eliminated? Next year, there will be the election for the House of Councillors. If there are still distrust, and it is not sufficient, what kind of the measures are you going to take after the new year in order to restore the trust? Whether the trust is restored is something we should not judge. This should be judged by people in Japan. As I said earlier, the expense for political activities are abolished, and also so-called former communication allowance abolishment and return of the allowance, establishment of the third-party organization, and based on Article 1 and 2 of the laws, anyone can look at the contents of the report, and the database should be established, and also the disclosing the purpose of research and other activities. Whether people are convinced is something that people in Japan should judge. As you mentioned, the contribution from the companies and businesses and donations, that there have been more discussions. There have to be more discussions next year. When we had a discussion for political reform, the tendency was we focused too much on election, and we introduced the subsidy with the public fund. But there is a question about the parties rely on the contribution from the public fund. And there was a discussion whether any party should rely on such a fund. And then there was a discussion, why don't we use the donation from businesses and companies? And then people challenged the independence. And the question was about the private fund, the celebrities and people with money. only those people can run for the campaign, and the donations from the companies and businesses, and also people collecting the support. So that is kind of the balance that should be achieved. And this is kind of the response I gave during the diet session. When we think about the companies, and there are 500 articles in the Companies Act, and there are public or corporations, they do pay taxes. But when it comes to ideal politics, the businesses do not have right to vote, and based on Article 21 of the freedom of the expression, and based on the constitution, we have to look at that. But they are under a harsh scrutiny of the people. That is the kind of the discussion we do head on. Who should really bear the cost of the democracy? What is political parties? These are the discussion topics we want to deepen, and we hope that we can gain understanding from the people. Those who are engaged in the politics should be serious when we are engaged in the political activities. This is something we have to do.
Sakata-san with Tokyo newspaper. Also a coordinator, please. This is Sakata with the Tokyo Tunichi newspaper. Thank you. Toward the ordinary diet session, I want to ask a question about the selective dual surname system. The opposition parties have been asking for the implementation of that, and new Komito has also been asking for it. As you are a minority government, you have to pay attention to the voices of those parties. How are you going to put together the opinions within LDP? And you also said that this issue cannot be prolonged forever. So when are you going to reach a conclusion? At the Liberal Democratic Party, the form of families or the wills, the thinking of the people are changing. So the selective dual surname system should be implemented. Such idea exists in the LDP, but there are also voices that express concerns over the impact on the children of such families. If the siblings have different surnames, what would be the implications? And we have had discussions at the working team on the discussion of surname system. And as we had many bills to discuss in the diet, we did not have enough frequency of the discussions on this matter, and we need to have more discussions to bring up the maturity of the discussions. And it will be more mature, and it has to be more mature by having a higher frequency of such meetings. And we will look into the development, how the discussions will pan out, and maybe that will change the discussions in the party. But as you said, most of the opposition parties say that the dual surname system has to be implemented, and also the business community says so. So LDP is going to increase. We'll have more discussions, and this is what we are going to work on.
Now we take questions from other media outlets. If you want to ask questions, please raise your hand. I'm Iwasawa from NHK. So you are the minority ruling parties. With the opposition party members, supplementary budget was approved. The budget for next year shows the stance of the government, and the bar can be higher. And what is your pathway going forward? And there are internal affairs and diplomacy challenges. And what will be the most important policy for next year? whether it's the supplementary budget or main budget, we are using taxpayers' money, and the budget is something that shows the state of the nation, and we continue to make an utmost effort. But if it's a main budget, the amount is high and it has a wide range. Just like it was in a supplementary budget, there are a number of questions. And it is important how we can address these questions in a thorough manner. Those who are asking questions have many people on their back, and they can be representative of everyone in this country. So we have to give thorough and sincere response. And people look at the deliberation at the Diet, and people's view may change. And if they think they want to support, and then that is something we want to really achieve. When we do that, why each party's opinion is different from that of the government. And we have to understand the opinions from the parties. That's how we want to do the deliberation. And in order to deepen the people's view, we would like to continue our efforts. That is all I can say. And we do not have any single priority issue. Everything is important. And Noto Peninsula disaster, as we saw, those people who are in a dire situation, we want to really shed the light on them with the political reforms and the measures. Whether the situation is, the government gives the support, and that should not change. And the measures for disaster prevention is very important, and same can be said for reconstruction in Fukushima Prefecture. And we are not really setting order, but we are overcoming a deflation type economy. And we used to have an economy with a cost-cutting efforts. We have to make a shift to the one that generates high added value, and that is our overlapping efforts with regional revitalization. So we are shifting to the economy that generates the high added value. It is critical, and this is something we have to do in a quick manner. And with the response in a Diet, I said that this is the most severe security environment. And security measures, it's not only about defense. There's a food security and also energy security. The security structure, whether it has been enhanced, including equipment and also operation and also storage. So the security readiness has to be enhanced. And that has really high level of importance. And I may jump to different topic, but the majority of consumption is the consumer spending. First time in 33 years, our wages increased. And in order to ramp up consumer spending, there has to be the products and services with a high added value. And also we have to eliminate the concerns about the future. That is something we have to do. Social security system and what will be an ideal state to the people of Japan. We have to have the discussion that makes sense to them, and that continues to be critical for us.
Due to the time constraints, we will receive 2 more questions. Chiba-san with Sankei Newspaper, please. Ishiba with Sankei newspaper. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Let me ask you about your visit to the U.S. Mr. Trump says that it is possible to have a meeting with you before his inauguration on January the 20th, but of course there is some preparation. But some opinions are that it is better to have the meeting after the official inauguration. How do you see that, and what are the arrangements for now? Nothing has been decided yet. Mrs. Akie, the former First Lady, visited the U.S. and met with Mr. Trump about the detailed dates. There isn't any decision made yet. There are many opinions on the timing. Some say, is it really a good thing to have a meeting before the inauguration? Some say that in February, March, Japan will get very busy internally because of the Daito sessions. So there are many, many opinions. For me personally, as I said in the beginning of the press conference, I want to further enhance the Japan-US alliance. The Northeast Asian affairs, and the Gaza affairs, and the Ukrainian affairs. There are many, many issues, but I think it is very important to align our views on the Northeastern affairs. There are many discussions on the timing, so it's not a one-way discussion. But on the regional affairs discussion on the economy, it is important for us to align our views. This is paramount. So we would like to explore the most appropriate timing for the meeting to happen.
Now we take question from Kobe Shimbun newspaper. Horiguchi from Kobe Shimbun newspaper from Hyogo. During the presidential election, you are mentioning about the establishment of disaster management agency in Hyogo, where there was a great disaster, and they are asking for having a function. What is your idea about having a function in Hyogo Prefecture, and also what is the significance of this disaster management agency? We are not ready to talk about which prefecture we should have the functions. In Hanshin, Awaji, earthquake occurred 30 years ago, I believe. Hyogo Prefecture experienced such an earthquake in a Kansai greater region, and they pointed out the significance of having a function, and there is the very profound research, and we understand that, and we appreciate such an efforts. It's not only about the disaster management agency. 10 years ago, during the regional revitalization effort, the relocation of the central government was talked about. In Kyoto, cultural agency was relocated in Kanazawa. There's the relocation of another function. And we can have such a discussion today. And function of the disaster management agency, we will have the minister dedicated to the responsibility, and there will be the response to be given by the minister. So that the agency with the minister should not be relocated. But from a nature of the agency, we can have a branch function of such an agency. On the other day, a governor from Hokuriku region made such a proposal, and also Hyogo, who experienced a disaster, and we would like to take such an opinion seriously. So if that happens, they have to serve as a backup function And we should not have only one backup function in Tokyo, but in ruling parties and also in other parties, there should be deliberations at the Diet. If there's a request from Hyogo Prefecture, we have to take such a proposal seriously. But at this point, we are not ready to talk about the location of the agency or functions.
We still have time to take one last question. Takeda-san with Shizuoka newspaper, please keep your question short. Takeda with Shizuoka Shimbun. My question is about the ad hoc information about the Nankai mega thrust earthquake. It was issued for the first time in August, and about this ad hoc alert, there was opinion to ask for improvement, and this is an ad hoc alert, but some people misunderstood it as a forecast, a prediction. And as you are going to fundamentally strengthen the disaster prevention capabilities, how are you going to address those issues, including the one that I mentioned? As you said, many people regarded that alert as a prediction, as a forecast. And it is instinctive for people to take that information that way. So on a daily basis, communications and information dissemination are important, and we just put together a policy on that because we had this ad hoc information and there was misunderstanding, which led to people did a spree of shopping to prepare for contingencies. This needs to be prevented, and we need to have better understanding. So this is pertinent to how do we disseminate the information and what do we communicate, what kind of content that we should disseminate. So when we issue the information, we want people to track where they can evacuate to or to fixate the furniture at home. These are the daily efforts that people can make, and also to always bring emergency kits. It is quite still important for us to promote this kind of information, but there is room for improvement in terms of how we do that. That's what I think. So time is up. With that, we conclude today's press conference. There is still some people raising hands. Please send your questions to the person in charge by the end of today, and we will respond to you in later days. Thank you for your cooperation.